Oh, you worthless, pathetic little... Oh, hey guys. What are you looking at? You know, that's a hard thing to do, to take a look at yourself in the mirror. And on this channel, we constantly talk about being comfortable with being uncomfortable. And now this past weekend, I actually had an opportunity to do something that was totally out of my wheelhouse. But I got to learn from one of the best in the industry, Carly Fairchild, on a loan. And just something I've never done is I've never learned how to weave and make a basket. I've never made, fish traps, and containers historically are a huge deal in survival. And in the past, I have always just kind of looked at it like, I'll find a way to not have to do this. And that's just kind of how, I've worked around it my entire career. Because what do I specialize in? I specialize in 3-day to 2-week survival. SHTF, disaster scene type stuff, being tactically efficient, being light, fast, and mobile. I've kind of stayed away from a lot of this kind of stuff because I just wasn't comfortable with it. But what I learned through this exercise, by letting go of control and letting someone else take control, was that I'm a basket making fool. Seriously, look at this. Like, this is my very first one, all right, that I've ever made. And I owe a lot of that to Carly because she's an excellent instructor. And not to toot my own horn or anything, what I'm trying to tell you is that I learned a lot about myself through that exercise. I learned that I can do it, number one. And now that I've done one, I know that I've got to recreate it so that I retain that skill. But I know the second one is going to be even better. And the thing is, through that exercise, I gained a lot of confidence, enough confidence for me to go home and say, okay, what are the other things that you're not comfortable with? Like, what is it in your skill set that you need to tackle? What are the things that you need to learn? And so that's what I'm hoping to accomplish today, is I'm going to put myself, on the chopping block, make myself vulnerable to you guys, and I'm going to talk about the things that I'm not good at. Now, it's probably a good idea for you to go and get, a piece of paper, a notebook, and a pen, and start writing this stuff down. I'll wait. You can pause the video if you want to and come back, but I've done that. I sat down and I said, okay, these are the things that I'm not really good at. Now, whenever I do this exercise with people, as I say, okay, number one, do you know what your survival priorities are? And let's start off simple. Let's just start with the core 4: shelter, water, fire, and food. Those are 4 basic things that everybody needs to practice. And I don't care who you are, even if you're just sitting at home eating Cheetos on the couch and drinking a beer or whatever, these are the things that you need to work on. These are the core 4 things that are the most important in the survival priorities. Now, for me, I teach these priorities, right? So shelter, yeah, I'm pretty good at that. I've done everything from primitive shelters to actually building log cabins. Like, I've pretty much got the shelter thing on lockdown. If I had to make a shelter, I know how hard it is. I know what kind of resources I need, and it's hard. It's a big calorie expense unless you dress properly and you carry the right gear. The next one is fire. Well, we kind of specialize in that kind of thing here at Field of Fire. So everything from chemical fire and flint and steel and primitive fire methods, we do all of that kind of stuff. That's not something I really need to work on. Water, yeah, I pretty much got that on lockdown too. And the thing that I know that I really need to work on is food. Now, there are aspects of food that I'm really good at. I'm a big game predator hunter. I love tracking. That's how I got into search and rescue. That's how I got into special operations. I was a tracker of animals before I became a tracker of men. And I've been doing that for the majority of my life, both, in recreation and in a professional setting. So that's definitely in my wheelhouse. I am a big game guy. And I had always just told myself in that situation that I would just kill some big game and I would preserve it. But we've all watched Alone. What happens if you're in your little 5-mile square? And I have a lot of friends that have been on Alone. You're limited to the resources that are in your area. So what if the big game isn't there? What if you can't find the things that you need in your area? What do you do? And that's a difficult question, right? Because if I couldn't kill the moose, and I couldn't kill the deer, and I couldn't kill the bear, and I couldn't kill the hog, I'm gonna have to shift gears. Maybe I'm gonna have to start focusing on small game, like porcupines or beavers, tree rats, as we say, or even possibly mice and rats, which means I would have to up my game in the small game area. And then also, what is the thing that they're always missing the most? It's the fats, it's the oils, it's the sugars, and the nutrients, the micronutrients that they need. And that's typically what takes somebody out of the game. And now we're talking about extended survival scenarios here, and I would hope that none of us ever get put in place, but statistics prove that it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Now, the majority of your survival scenarios are going to be based around what I specialize in, 3 days to 2 weeks. But past that, all of my knowledge is theoretical. And so there's things that I need to work on. Sure, I understand the principles behind it, and I probably know more than just your average Joe by a long shot, but putting your theory into practice is another thing. So I just want to start at the top of the list, because what I need to work on is how to make a balanced diet over an extended period of time. And one of those things that I'm really weak at is fish, right? I have fished my whole life, but in no way do I call myself an angler. I watch guys that is their passion, that's their hobby, that's what they love to do. And I say, okay, I need to learn from those guys. Mike Simmons, who y'all have seen on this channel, and then Jason Sawyer. These are guys that are in my backyard that I could definitely go to and ask for help, because I'm going to have to learn how to do this stuff with less than ideal resources, right? It's what you have on you. You're probably not going to have a fishing pole and a boat and a fish finder and a depth finder and a fishing net and all the fancy tools that you need to make it a hobby sport, if you will, right? In a survival scenario, you're not going to have that stuff. And so part of it is being prepared from the get-go, and then being able to improvise using resources that you find in your landscape. So I'm working on a project that involves Wazoo, Grim Workshop, and Crystal Creek, and I'm gonna try to put together a go fast kit, if you will, light, fast, and mobile, and being tactically efficient. But I'm gonna have to work on my skill set itself. I'm gonna have to learn some new knots and hitches and bends. And a lot of people would say, well, Jay, you were in technical rescue, like you should be really awesome at knots, hitches, and bends. I am in my wheelhouse, but I'm gonna have to step out of that, and I'm gonna have to learn some new stuff. On top of that, I'm gonna have to work on some of the passive methods that I'm not so patient at, because I am a stalker. All right, when I go out to kill an animal, I know it takes feet on the ground and it takes work, and you have to work towards it to get the animal that you want. If you want the big game, you got to go to the places people don't want to go to, and it takes work, and you expend a lot of calories, and it doesn't just end when you shoot the animal. That's when the work really starts. And that's something that I need to work on, is preservation, not just of big game and stuff, like I pretty much got that on lockdown, but preservation of smaller game, and having to deal with things like rodents. Mice and rats will destroy your equipment. I don't know how many of y'all have experience with this, but if it's fuzzy, including your hair, they will bite and steal that stuff. They'll mess up your sleeping bag, they'll mess up your backpack, your shoes, your socks, your clothes, and your food. And so that's something that I need to work at, is storing the food, preserving the food, and then being able to store the food for an extended period of time when I'm out in the wild. And another thing about it is you got to take action, right? And so I have all these people in my life, and it's important for me to say, okay, I'm gonna check the ego at the door. I'm gonna contact these guys, and I'm gonna figure out what to do. And maybe that means stepping out of your inner circle as well. Because I wrote down guys that are in my circle that I know, but I'm not really good friends with, but maybe I could reach out to them and ask for help. People like Zachary Fowler, for example, or Greg Ovens, or EJ Snyder. I mean, EJ lives up in North Carolina. That's right above me. You know, maybe I call him up and say, hey bro, I need some help with this extended stuff. You want to work together? Let's make some videos. I mean, it's as simple as that. I mean, these are just people. They're just humans, right? And so maybe you don't have somebody in your circle, but you know, what I would suggest is maybe you go take just a basic survival class, because you're going to meet other people that they need that basic class, and you're also going to meet the instructors when you go to that class, and they may have an avenue to be able to point you in the right direction. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? They tell you no, and so you got to find another avenue to do it. But it takes action on your part, which brings up the next point: wild edibles. Now, I know a few wild edibles, more than most, right? But the thing is, I don't really know what the nutrient value is in the things that I'm getting. Like, over my past, I have learned how to identify certain wild edibles and medicinals, but I don't know, like, is there more carbs in this? Are there more proteins? What micronutrients are in this? And what part of the plant do I need to harvest? And how do I prepare it, or how do I save it or store it so that I get the most out of this? And I think, you know, this is the subject that you could do literally for the rest of your entire life, and you would never know it all. I mean, I think it's just something that you need to keep practicing and keep practicing. So my next year, like this upcoming year, things that I want to focus on are fish and small game. And like I said, I'll be working with companies that I already work with, and then I'll also be working with Simple Shot, because I've really gotten hooked on the slingshot thing. I just see so much value in it as far as harvesting small game, because a large part of hunting is possum mentality, right? You're in the right place at the right time, and can you convert on that right then and there? And I see a slingshot as being the way to do that. Now, those are the things that I'm not good at, things that I want to work on, you know, for an extended survival scenario. But there's also things that I want to do. So one of the things that I really, really want to do, an environment that I haven't been in yet, because I've done extreme cold and extreme hot. I've been on the boundary waters in February when it's, you know, sub-zero all the time, and that is a hard life, but I excelled at it. I've been down to the swamps in the middle of 8 million acres of swampland. I've done mountaineering. I'm more comfortable in tundra and mountainous areas as well. Like, that's where my comfort zone is. Something that I haven't done though is I haven't been to the jungles, like in the Amazon, for example. And I know a guy, Joe Flowers with Bushcraft Global, and I talked to him about it. And so it looks like maybe in a year or two at the most that I'll be able to do that. The thing that I don't know is how the heck I'm gonna do that. So I'll be looking for, you know, suggestions for y'all. I've never done anything like a GoFundMe. I'll probably have to go to some of these companies that I work with and say, hey, you know, these are products that I already use. Would you be comfortable in sponsoring me to go do this trip if I film it and give you credit for it and all that stuff? So, you know, I'm looking for ideas from you guys. So please get in the comments section and help me out. I've never done that kind of thing before. And it's probably going to take about $5,000, I would think, for me to do a trip like that. Joe said he would discount the trip for me as long as I was filming while I was there, but I'm stoked. I'm properly stoked about it. This is something I've always wanted to do. And so that's something I'm going to be working towards in the next year to see if I can actually make that happen. And then the last things that I want to do, stuff that's in my wheelhouse, right? I want to do some more stealth camping stuff. I mean, for sure. That's something that I enjoy doing. And I want to do more like E&E and, you know, counter tracking type stuff. And I know that that's probably the stuff that y'all enjoy, like the adventure video type stuff and learning how to do things on the fly, being tactically efficient, being light, fast, and mobile, how to make things happen under pressure. That's the kind of stuff that I really enjoy doing, and even enjoy living vicariously through other content creators and influencers and instructors, etc. Because it's easy. That's the stuff that we want to see, right? Like, it just sparks that passion in you. But what I'm trying to tell you is that you need to focus on other stuff as well. And so maybe just to start out, maybe you start watching videos on subjects that maybe you're not comfortable with, something that you want to work on and you know that you need to work on it. So I have like a thing where I do like 20 minutes a day where I try to focus on subjects that I'm not comfortable with. And that could be a lot of things, and I'm not going to bore you with all of that. But I always think that you need to be moving forward. And sometimes that means being comfortable, being uncomfortable. I mean, I know y'all see guys like me and Jason, we go out and we make an art out of being uncomfortable, right? Like, we go out and we test ourselves and we do things that a lot of times people would say is kind of ludicrous. You know, like, why on earth would you go out with just one tool? You would never find yourself in a survival scenario where you just had one tool. And I think the majority of people miss the point of doing something like that. We're going out and we're testing our skills physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, etc. We're making things difficult on purpose so that we can grow as people. And when you come out the other end, there's just this amazing amount of confidence that you get from doing that. You go through hardship and it makes you harder, right? There's that whole saying about soft times and peace and soft men and hard men, etc. I mean, that's what it is. It's about making yourself uncomfortable so that you can learn how to adapt, improvise, adapt, and overcome whatever scenarios come your way. So what I want to know from you guys, please get in the comment section, because I want your feedback. I want to know what you think about this. I want to know what you want to see in the future. Do you want to see me put my ego aside and go and do some of these things that are difficult? I promise you I won't break away from the things that are in my wheelhouse. I will continue to keep filming like that. It's comfortable and it's easy for me and I enjoy doing it. But I want to know, are the things that I talked about of interest to you? Number one. Number two, I want to know what areas in your life that you're uncomfortable with. What do you need to work on? So put that in the comments section for me. And then give me some ideas about what I can do as far as making this trip to the jungle a reality, because I could use your help on that for sure. So if you're honey smack digging the content, like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and until next time, keep fueling those fires.